Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Jenny's Self-Care Lab. It is Mindful Mondays, and so you know what's poppin'. We're talking all things ingredients, products, or brands. And today we're covering one of my favorite ingredients, which is squalane, but we're going to be comparing it to something called squalene. And this has come up a few times for me where a couple of years ago, when I was still in my skincare journey, kind of looking for what works for my skin when it was feeling really dry and I just didn't know what to do with it. I came across a product with Squalane and I loved that product at the time. I can't even remember the brand I was using, but I absolutely loved it. It worked for a few months and then thereafter I struggled a little bit, as with many products. However, I then came across another product that had squalene and it got me thinking. And I was like, okay, so what is the difference? And so, similar to how we've broken down the retinoids in the last couple of weeks, where we spoke about retinol versus retinal versus tretinoin versus all these other different kinds of retinoids, we're actually going to be comparing today. We're actually going to be comparing today squalene versus squalane. What is it that we need to know about those two ingredients? What kind of products are they found in so that we can just have that knowledge in the back of our minds as we shop for what we're looking for? So grab your tub of water, and I hope you guys are getting there to the end of the day, okay? And we are going to start unpacking. Let's get it. Okay, so I'm going to start off by giving us a definition of squalane. And luckily, I had done this as part of my research just over a year ago when I started. And basically, it says squalane is the byproduct of squalene, which is found in cosmetic products such as face creams, oils, and serums. Essentially, squalene is what's found in living bodies. Okay, so squalene is what we already have inside of us naturally, and squalane is what's found in a bottle. Squalane, a saturated oil that's used in skincare products as such as moisturizer, helps increase hydration, and thanks to its anti-inflammatory properties, it can help with acne and eczema. Squalane can hydrate the skin, hair, and it may also help reduce inflammation and damage from free radicals, among other benefits. Your body has a built-in system for moisturizing your skin, which we've spoken about previously, but it doesn't always provide enough hydration, especially as you get older because our skin becomes more drier. This is why many people turn to external moisturizers. Squalane is often compared to hyaluronic acid as it is biomimetic, and it is also very beneficial in promoting skin hydration. So this has definitely come up in my research where whenever I talk about hydration or I look into hydration, a lot of the ingredients that come up is hyaluronic acid, is squalane, and of course glycerine, which I've mentioned previously. Squalane is, so it's often compared to hyaluronic acid. Squalane has many benefits that hyaluronic acid does not have, apparently, such as its antioxidant properties, okay, its protective role, or quite simply its sensoriality. Okay, so basically moisturizes, hydrates, has antioxidant properties, and is helpful for anti-inflammatory skin solutions. All skin types can use squalane, apparently, from what I've found in my research. However, if you have extreme acne and extreme oily skin, there has been one article that cautioned against the use of too much squalane. So not that you can't use it, but you should just be careful how much of it you're using. So just in moderation, basically, because you already have so much oil in the skin. Everyday use, according to my research, is okay for squalane. So you could use it every single day. You don't have to skip any days. Now, the interesting part is I initially had looked into this, and this is based on my initial research on squalane, which was what kind of products should we not mix squalane with? And at the time, there were conflicting articles. Some articles said, hey, like you should not mix it with AHAs and BHAs. That is your salicylic acids, your glycolic acids, your lactic acids, because it may lead to dryness. And I think retinol was in there as well. It may lead to dryness. But then there were some other studies that were saying, hey, or articles rather, that were saying, hey, you can mix it with AHAs and BHAs because AHAs and BHAs specifically will have exfoliating properties, it is always good to follow up an exfoliating routine with hydration. And that hydration would either be in the form of a hyaluronic acid, products with glycerine, or squalane. And so take your pick. I don't know which one you're gonna go for. I personally, in my experience, I use the ordinary retinol, which has squalane in it. So that kind of maybe begs the question, they've clearly made a formulation where retinol and squalane are mixed together. So there must be a reason for that. And it has worked fine for me. I have no issues with it. I also truly believe in whenever I do any exfoliation for my skin or my body, I always follow that up on with products that are hydrating. So I have moisturizers that have hyaluronic acid. I don't have a standalone squalane serum right now, but I have used one previously before, and that worked fine for me as well. So again, it might be one of those situations where you just have to really pay attention to your skin at the end of the day, and make sure that you are gentle, you're taking your time with, new products and that kind of thing. And if you're seeing any breakouts, you want to make sure that you stop whatever product you've been using, or whatever you think may be the reason for the breakout. Um, my research also tells me that you can use it both in the morning and the evening. In the mornings, squalane is great as a protector and a corrector, because it gives you that hydration. It also has and those antioxidant properties very similar to other products like your vitamin C's and so on and so forth. And then, of course, you want to feel that moisturization. But also in the evening, I love hydrating my skin in the evening because that's when my skin is resting and it's just like gonna kind of replenish itself. And so it's always good to give it some hydration so that in the morning I wake up already feeling hydrated. And then any additional hydration, I always feel like it's just to plump my skin up. And that's why I prefer probably a hyaluronic acid in the morning for hydration versus a squalane in the evening for hydration. I also do find my current retinol with squalane in it, and even my previous standalone squalane serum, I do find it to be a lot more oily, which does make sense because technically squalene, from what I understand, is an oil substance. And so it makes sense that squalane would be a little bit more oily. And so I prefer oily in the night versus in the day when I'm trying to just, I want to have that natural glow, but not feel greasy and oily at the same time. So, okay, that's my research on Squalane. Now we're going to compare with Squalene. But before I move on to the comparison, I will say that there is a little bit of controversy around Squalene because Squalene is, I guess, the original substance from which Squalane is a byproduct. And squalene is apparently a very common ingredient in lipsticks, in foundations, in eyeshadows, moisturizers, and sunscreens and lip balms. However, they are any products that are made with squalene. The ingredient that is squalene is actually shark liver oil. And so, in order for that liver oil to be obtained, the controversy around this ingredient has been that a lot of sharks have basically been killed in the process, or hurt in the process. I haven't gone too deep in terms of the research around the shark species. However, I did read one of the articles that said more than 60 sharks are fished for their liver oil. 26 of which have already been listed as vulnerable to extinction. So these are now species that are vulnerable to extinction. And so whether or not they end up dying in the process or getting hurt in the process, it is a concern, of course, from an environmental perspective, from a species perspective. And so, yeah, we definitely want to keep that in mind. So especially those of us who are shopping with environmental consciousness in mind, maybe that's something that you'd love to know. However, if we go back to my now comparison, in terms of squalene versus squalane. So Squalane, we've learned a little bit about. Squalane is a byproduct of squalene. So, squalene, when we talk about the structure of both ingredients, squalene is unsaturated and therefore prone to oxidation. Now, what does oxidation mean? Or it oxidizes quickly. This means that it will react with oxygen. And in the process of reacting with oxygen, it basically loses hydrogen and therefore making some of the electrons in the compound itself or the group of atoms, it makes them a little less effective. It's almost similar to the effect of like what rust or how rust comes about, right? Think about also the idea of like when you cut an apple and when you initially cut it, it's great. It's like it's white on the inside or like white-ish looking on the inside. And then if you leave it out of the fridge and just sitting out there for a while, a few minutes even, it doesn't always take that long. It starts to get browner and browner. It means that it's now engaging or interacting with oxygen. And as more oxygen enters, more hydrogen comes out, and effectively that the structure of the group of atoms changes. And so squalene being the natural substance found in our body or in our skin, or being shark liver oil, it oxidizes very quickly, and that is a result of it being unsaturated. Whereas squalane, on the other hand, is saturated because it's a byproduct of squalene, and so it's a lot more stable. It is a saturated hydrocarbon. And basically, it's derived from olives, sugarcane, or shark liver, hydrogenated squalene. And the texture would be very different between the two. So with squalane, you would see that the texture is lightweight and a little less greasy, whereas squalene is heavier, it's greasy, it's more prone to degradation. And the shelf life would also be different. The shelf life for a squalane would be a lot much longer, whereas the shelf life for a squalene would be a lot shorter. Now, when we talk about skin types, squalane, which is what we typically see a lot more of as an ingredient in skincare products, and I think squalene is what we see a lot more of in kind of your makeup products. Squalane is ideal for all skin types. Again, it's a hydrating ingredient, really good to give your skin that hydration that it needs. And so you could have oily skin, acne-prone skin, sensitive skin, and squalane would be good, and even dry skin. I mean, I have dry skin, and like I said, I use it as part of my routine. It's combined with the retinol from The Ordinary, and I've used it previously again and was happy with the results. However, my research tells me that if you have a more extremely dry skin, very mature skin, it's squalene is probably a little bit more suitable for your skin. Again, it's a lot heavier. I personally, again, I have super dry skin and I've used squalane, so I think that could work for all skin types. It is also non-comedogenic, so that means that it won't be clogging up your pores, which is great. Whereas something a little bit heavier could sometimes clog your pores and could just feel uncomfortable because it feels a lot more greasy. Some key considerations is that squalane is a lot more stable. You always want, where possible, to have ingredients in a product that are stable. That makes it more suitable for daily skincare use. Squalene is naturally present in our human sebum, which is that sebum oil that we often talk about whenever we're talking about our sebaceous glands, and we talk about like excess oil that exists within our skin, which is all part of our natural call it moisturizing mechanics within our skin. But while squalene is naturally present in our bodies, it tends to oxidize much quicker and it leads to clogged pores and breakouts. So this is why sometimes even with your makeup, you have to be very careful. As much as you may love a particular makeup product or you've seen it on a friend and it looked amazing, if you're not reading the ingredients, you might find yourself purchasing something that, yes, initially looks great. And then when you start seeing breakouts, you're like, oh, my cleanser isn't working, my serums are not working, or whatever the case may be. But some of the makeup you're using could be the reason why you are actually seeing breakouts, because maybe it's clogging your pores. And then over and above that, you're maybe not washing properly, you're not maybe double cleansing in the evenings and that kind of stuff, especially if you're somebody that uses makeup very often. So important to be reading the ingredients and as far as possible, trying to kind of understand what is in there. I know it can be a lot of work. Anyway, so look for squalane in moisturizers and serums if you want hydration without a greasy feeling, which is great. Compatibility. So what is squalane compatible with? So it works really well with hyaluronic acid. Again, both hyaluronic acid and squalane are good for hydration. Although hyaluronic acid will give you more of a plumper look and more of a smoother feeling, whereas squalane, I think, is more of that hydrated feeling. I do find hyaluronic also very hydrating, but I will say that like they kind of do have a slight difference where I prefer hyaluronic acid for the day because of that plump and smooth look, whereas in the evening, I really do often feel like if I use squalane that like I feel just super hydrated. So I don't know that I would combine the two, but apparently it does work well together. They work well with ceramides. Again, I love a good moisturizer with ceramides already because anything that is going to help with my skin barrier, I just love it. And I often find that like a really good cream will have ceramides, and at least the ones that work for my skin will have ceramides. And I just find that it works really well for my skin altogether. And then it does work well with glycerine niacinamide. Again, glycerine is often used in a lot of products, but it is also a hydrating ingredient. Now, this is not to say that one product won't have multiple hydrating ingredients. In fact, whenever you look at different products, what you will find is that like a lot of different ingredients, when you look at the full ingredient list, will target hydration. Some of them are more potent, some of them will deal with really absorbing the moisture in the skin and making sure that you don't lose moisture fast throughout the day and that kind of stuff. So one product could have multiple ingredients that deal with hydration. However, all I'm saying here is that like, I don't know that I would use a hyaluronic serum plus a squalane serum, but it is possible to find a serum the way sometimes it's like, especially if it's a serum for hydration, it's not impossible to find multiple different ingredients within that. And then, of course, you can also, use it with other active ingredients. Again, there's those articles that say, hey, don't mix it with an AHA, don't mix it with a BHA, and other articles saying, look, AHA, BHA, great, because those things are dealing with exfoliation. And so you need some hydration over and above that. Now, again, this is where you have to kind of make the decision for your skin based on your knowledge of yourself and your skin. Now, what you want to avoid with squalane, again, nothing very major has been highlighted, except that if you do have oily skin, you do want to maybe just like in moderation, make sure that you maybe want to make sure that you're using the likes of a squalane in moderation. It's generally safe to use with most products. However, yeah, anything new, always just use in moderation and always make sure that you're doing your test first on your skin. In conclusion, squalane is better for skincare choice. It's more stable, it makes for great hydration, and it protects across all skin types, which is amazing. We love that about it. Very interesting is I also wondered and researched, is there anyone that shouldn't be using the likes of a squalane? I did come across an interesting read that said anyone under the age of 20, over and above the people with very oily skin, which we already said need to be just kind of careful on using too much squalane. The article did also speak about anyone under the age of 20 using too much squalane. I would assume, without knowing the reason behind this, I would assume that it's because typically in your teenage years, you tend to have fluctuating hormones, and in general, like that's when acne really starts to show up for a lot of people. And so if you're already acne prone at that point for whatever reason, whether it's fungal acne, hormonal acne, or whatever the case may be, it might not maybe be a good idea to be piling on some more oily substances onto the skin. However, squalane is a non-comedogenic product, which means that it's not going to be clogging your pores. But hey, like we said, if your skin is already producing excess oil, and that is sebum oil, which already includes the natural squalene oils that come in our skin with our bodies, then you maybe don't want to be piling it on. So just maybe use with caution if you do decide to use it. So that was a great read that definitely had me thinking. And another interesting, I guess, read that I found was that Squalane, if you had to compare it, because Squalane has that kind of oily feeling, even though it's lightweight, it was actually being compared to like the likes of a jojoba oil, which oftentimes when you do research, research will share with you that jojoba oil is a little bit more, it's the most similar to our natural skin oil, so the natural sebum oil that we have. And so when people often speak about what kind of oil you should be using on your face, if you want to do facial oils or if you want to do like a gua sha massage or whatever the case may be, then they often say use jojoba oil because it's the closest in similarity to our natural skin's oil, whereas other oils like your coconut oils can actually clog your skin and lead to breakouts. But this article was actually showing that squalane is 53% better at accelerating cell turnover than argan oil, and it's 39% better at accelerating cell turnover than jojoba oil or jojoba oil. That's how some people pronounce it. So anyway, there you have it. It's non-comedogenic. Squalane is the girl she thinks she is. So make sure that you're getting her into your routine if hydration is something that's important for you, which it should be for every single person. Regardless of whether you have too much oil or not, there should be some level of hydration in the process. Of course, depending on your skin type, there will be a certain level of moderation that is required. But Squalane, it is. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what other ingredients you guys would love for me to compare. Maybe ingredients that you're like, I saw this and I saw this and it looked the same, but it was definitely spelled differently, and I want to know why. So we've now done the retinoids. We've now done Squalene versus Squalane. Let me know what else you'd love to know about. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and follow us on Instagram. Have a fabulous Monday. Annyeong.